Hello and welcome to our weekly IG Live. We are going to be talking once again to the wonderful author Dee Dee Cummings. Excuse me, we're going to be talking about her new Christmas book. I've had a chance to read it. It's really wonderful. It's called In the Nick of Time 2. You may remember, you may remember that she also wrote a Christmas book last year, which was called In the Nick of Time. So this is the sequel to that, although it works fine as a standalone also. But you're really going to want to read the first one too. They're really both wonderful books. And so we're going to be talking some more about that. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. We've actually all been sick this week, but how are you doing?
I can hear it in your voice.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had, they call it the tridemic, so everybody take care of themselves. Get lots of vitamins and I don't know, drink Theraflu, drink what's that other thing that I like? Emergency. I love Emergency.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's really good. Get lots of liquids and take care of yourself because these bugs that are going around are no joke. But
Yeah,
my
they seem pretty
positive
nasty.
flu A, but thank goodness both me and my husband are vaccinated and we have not gotten it. So,
Great.
yeah. Hi,
Well,
Kayla. Kayla
talking
McDaniel. Hi. Hi.
I was just talking about your book, and I am working. Some of you might know I have my own blog, All Done Monkey, and I'm working on a book list, which is a little late because I was sick. But of course, I'm going to be including In the Nick of Time too. In that, it's all diverse Christmas books that have come out in the last year or two. And I have to say, yours is so unique. There are more books that are coming out that have Black Santas.
Hmm.
And some even talk about it a little bit. Some of them is just part of the illustrations and they don't really address it other than having him in the illustrations. Some of them talk a little bit. They'll have Black kids who are so excited to see a Santa that looks like them. But
Hmm.
yours is the only, really one of the only ones where it actually goes into a discussion for kids about why it's important to have Black Santas and what does that mean and what does Santa really look like. And I just love the line I think I mentioned last time about Santa looks like love.
Hmm.
But it really is a really unique book, which I think is needed. I mean, all of it is needed, the representation, but I think it's great to have that discussion with kids so they can kind of think about it a little more.
No, I completely agree. And, I was really worried about people's response to this book. In the Nick of Time was a really successful book. And it was warm and funny and charming and had this beautiful poem at the end that everybody loves. And let me just show the book too for people who don't. We've got a new on named Carmel, so you all may not have seen the book yet, but this is In the Nick of Time too. This is the book we're talking about, and I'll show it and talk more about it in a little bit. But I was worried about this book In the Nick of Time too. If I addressed race head on, I was worried that it would somehow affect the warmth of the first book, because
Right.
some people just want to be in their cozy pajamas and just talk about presents in the tree and a Santa Claus, and they don't want to talk about social justice issues, which I do talk about social justice issues in the first book, but the first book is about kids getting like a dream Christmas, and everybody's on board with that. But when it comes to talking about human relationships, sometimes people get sensitive about that. I don't quite understand it. I mean, I know in principle why people get sensitive, because sometimes people feel like the finger's being pointed at them, but this is a warm story. It's about relationships, and I hope that everybody gets it. And I've been very pleasantly surprised because this book, In the Nick of Time 2, is on an iReads book tour right now. That's the name of the company, iReads, and I love iReads book tours. I've done several of them, and they're really good. And I just got a review today from Rockin' Book Reviews, and I just love it. I just want to read just a little bit from this review real quick. It says, often a writer's raspberry beret. I'm sorry, I can't. I have to stop and acknowledge that.
Uh-huh.
I was just singing that song the other day because it got cold, and I had that in my head. If it was cold, she wouldn't wear much more. I just love Raspberry Beret. So thank you. You're in the right spot. All right. um, but Rocking Book Review says often a writer's second book of a series pales slightly next to the original. However, I feel author Dee Dee Cummings' second book of the Nick series is even better than the first. And it just goes on to talk about how this is a wonderful Christmas story that unites all children and Santas together in love and peace. And that's really what I want people to get from this story is that, you know, if you have questions, ask. We're always going to learn. We're never going to stop learning. When we have friends, we don't always have it all figured out. Sometimes our friends struggle with things that we don't understand. And so we need to just confront those conversations head on. And that's what makes our relationships better. You know, there's this banned book craze right now in our country. And we need more books, not less books. It's those books that often start the conversation for us and kind of give us a window into somebody else's world. And so I'm very appreciative to the reviewers so far on the iReads book tour, who I'm sure are not, many probably are not the same racial makeup that I am, and yet they get it. And I appreciate that so much. So, and thanks for all the positive things you've said about the book too. It's doing great. Okay, so I've just been rambling. I got one more thing I need to say. This has been climbing the charts on Amazon, you all. I'm just so excited about that. Thanks for all the love you're sending. I'm just hold on. But this has been climbing the charts on Amazon. It is currently the #1 new release in Black and African American stories, which I just want to point out what you always point out, Leanne, is that Black and African American stories are not just for Black kids, but it is the #1 new release in that category, and it's the #2 new release in Christmas books.
No, I heard that one. That's great.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to #1 on Christmas books, but it just must really be hard because a lot of people are buying Christmas books now because it's close to Christmas. And so we're just coming up with a lot of, there's a lot of competition for Christmas books, but to be #2 in new releases for Christmas books and #1 in new releases for Black stories. And if you go to Amazon, which you have to do this on a desktop, it's harder to find it on a phone. But if you go to Amazon and you search for the new releases and search by category and go to that category, I'm blown away by some of the books that are in that category. It's amazing to see this book with this message that was so important to me to share, to be acknowledged in this way by the customers on Amazon. So thank you to everyone who has bought the book. Thank you to everyone who has reviewed it. You're really showing the world that diverse books matter. Thank you.
Yes, and you know, I know you mentioned it before that it's great to have it in the category of Black and African American stories, but how wonderful to have it just in the general category of Christmas stories. And even when I was doing my book list for my blog, I always struggle with whether to do a separate list of diverse books or just to do Christmas books. And last year I decided just to do Christmas books and mixed in diverse books into that. But at the same time, I think people are looking specifically for diverse books a lot of
Yeah,
times, so it's kind of nice to have them all together. But
yeah,
that's really wonderful that
I know.
it's doing on.
I know it's been so amazing. It's been wonderful. I really don't have the words to describe it. I really don't because I had so much. I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but I was concerned. You know, I love In the Nick of Time. It's such a great story, and I didn't want to do anything that would cause it any kind of backlash or take away from it. I wanted to
Right,
make it better, not water it down.
right.
And seems like the feedback we're getting is like this book did make the story better. I wouldn't quite call this a series, although I understand why somebody would think it would be. I don't know that I'm going to continue with the Nick story, but
I
I
was
wrote.
just gonna ask.
I don't know. I don't. I have a lot of stories to tell, and Nick's stories are just not at the top of my, my mind. But I have a lot of stories to tell, and I'm glad that I got to tell this one because I do think it was important. I do think it's different, like you said, than a lot of other books that kind of tiptoe around, um, well, I guess I shouldn't say tiptoe. I mean, everybody tells their story in a different way, but this book definitely addresses head on. And it's funny because I did a bookstore signing last weekend, which was so much fun. And I brought a black Santa with me. And
Uh-huh.
as soon as we walk into the store, there's a little white boy and a little white girl, and they're like blown away to see Santa. And they're like, Santa. And then all of a sudden you can see it click in the young white boy's mind. He says, are you the real Santa? And he looked at, because you look a little different. And he said it
Right.
just, uh, but you know what? They didn't care. They moved right on. Santa had a little bag with them, and he offered them a candy cane from the bag, and they gave him a hug, and it was beautiful. Um, I think Santa always looks like love, and that doesn't mean that he's black. It
Mhm.
means that love comes in all shapes and forms.
Right.
Love is love, and so I'm glad that it doesn't appear like this story has done anything but help the first story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. They go well. They really really build on each other. They go so well together. Although, like I said, that it's also could just be a standalone story by
Hmm.
itself. Although I think people would want to have both of them just because they're both such great books.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think so too. And I love that. I love the process too of making a book. We really probably need to have another Instagram live just about what it was like to put this book together, because uh, there was this scene here in the book, which can I just stop for 1 minute and just talk about Charlene Mosley and just how amazing she is. I mean, just I'm just so blessed to have found her. Um, but this image, this was completely blank over here. It was just the wood floor and the wall.
Mhm.
And I told Charlene, I said, I want to kind of give a nod to the first In the Nick of Time book, because in that book, Cooper talks about his family's experiencing temporary uh, homelessness, um, and also experiencing um, a Christmas where they knew that they probably weren't going to get a lot of gifts. And Cooper wasn't concerned about gifts for himself, he was concerned about gifts for his brother. And so I told
Mhm.
Charlene, wouldn't it be nice if we filled this space with this is Cooper. Cooper wrote a letter to Santa in the first book asking for a truck for his brother. And so I had the idea, let's put Cooper's little brother over here with the truck in his family.
Truck.
They're doing well now. They're on their feet and happy and prospering together. And there's Cooper's brother playing in the corner with the truck. So there are a couple of odds in here to the first book. Both books end with a letter, and so both books have the similar ending with Santa writing a letter to the kids, and I just love that. I always get goosebumps when I read both um, of the letters. And this is one of my favorite scenes from the book. I just want to show everybody real quick. Look how beautiful this is. Again, this is Charlene Mosley. These are her ideas. Oh, you noticed that, Kayla? You noticed that
The
she
truck.
stuck on there? Yeah. Okay. Well, great. That's a true In the Nick of Time fan right there. um, but I love this scene. Um, Charlene Mosley came up with the scene on her own. We get that question a lot. We get the question of, did I tell Charlene what I wanted in the imagery, or did she just do it? And sometimes she does it, and sometimes I have a vision and I say it would be cool if we could see this, just like I did with the
Right.
truck. But these kids kind of playing reindeer here, That's her idea. I love that. How the kids are kind of like dressed up and they have the reindeer antlers on and they've gotten like some jump ropes or something and they're pretending like they're reindeer. Um, uh, and then all the diverse characters. There's many, many, many diverse characters in this book, and I can't speak highly enough about her talent. And I just really feel like this is just a beautiful Black Santa. I just really feel
Yes.
like you're going to see Charlene Mosley on a bigger platform one day because her talent blows me away.
And if anybody hasn't seen, we have an IG Live that's with Charlene and Dee Dee and talking about like her process and the collaboration, because a lot of times people have that like you said, they have that question of what does it look like when you write a book and you have the illustrator. And of course it depends on how you publish your book, but if you're self-published, you can have a really close interaction. So you should go back, because I love you can just tell in the conversation like how much you guys care about each other and how closely you can work together, and like what that relationship is like really comes through. So if you
Thank,
haven't, go back and watch that interview. I really love that one.
thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I'm so happy to share this book and to talk about it and to tell everybody it's doing great. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. You can also just download it on a Kindle, or if you have a smartphone, you have a Kindle. A lot of people don't know that. If you have an iPad, you have a Kindle because you just have to download the Kindle app. And I like, physical books. I like the paper, but it is an easy way to download books, and it's very cheap. It's only $2.99 to download this version of the book. So at least you get to see this beautiful imagery. And if you're in the car and you don't want to carry a lot of books with you, you can put those books on an iPad, and your child can still be exposed to those words. So it's
Yeah,
a
if you're traveling for Christmas, that's a perfect thing, is load up the iPad with some books. And
mhm,
if you download it on an iPad or a tablet, it's still, the image comes across really well, because I mean the size of the screen. You
mhm.
still get to, because I you remember like when Kindles first came out and the
Yeah,
screens were so small, and
yeah,
it was really hard to do picture books, but not anymore. It really
yeah.
comes across really.
Yeah, yeah. At first, I almost didn't do ebooks. That's a whole nother conversation we can have, because of how they looked when they first came out. But they look really good now. So I'm very glad that I have turned my books into ebooks because um, they do look nice now. When Kindles first came out, you couldn't even get books in color.
Yes, yes, I had a black and white one. Yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it looks really good on an ebook if you want to use that as an option too. But as always, I really appreciate you joining me here, and I appreciate what you do for Makeaway Media. We're coming to the end of the year, so I just want to make sure you know that I'm so glad that you do this for
Mhm.
us this week. And I hope that everyone tunes in next year because it's just going to keep getting better and better.
Yes, well, I enjoyed so much getting to talk to you every week. Well, not, I mean, we have some others, but getting to talk to you so often, be a part of the Makeaway Media family. For those that don't know, it really does feel like a family for
Oh,
everybody that works with Dee Dee and everybody that joins in. So you can be a part of the family too. Just come and watch our IG lives.
that's right. Thank you.
All right,
Talk to
bye.
you.